The birth of Ejiogbe Oríshanlá was forbidden from drinking palm wine, while his wife Àfín was forbidden from consuming salt. Arseka imuemo, Àfín ka ije iyo. Àfín's pregnancy did not completely ease the tension that existed between the couple. She became even more quarrelsome as her pregnancy progressed over the months. 9 months later, a son was born. Shortly after the birth, Oríshanlá realized that there was no food in the house to feed the mother. He quickly left for the farm to gather yams, kur, okra, and vegetables. Oríshanlá took longer than expected to return from the farm, which enraged his wife. She began to complain that her husband had left her to go hungry on the very day she had given birth, saying that this was proof he did not love her. She then decided that it was time to end their marriage by ending her husband's life. Knowing that Oríshanlá was forbidden from drinking palm wine, she poured it into his drinking water pot. As soon as she did this, she left the newborn baby on the bed and went out to visit her neighbors. Meanwhile, Oríshanlá had returned from the farm and began preparing food for his wife. While the yams were cooking, he went to the room to fetch water using his usual vessel, a snail shell, from the pot of poisoned water. Just as he was about to drink, his son, who was lying on the bed, said, "Father, do not drink that water, for my mother has poured palm wine into it." Although stunned that a newborn baby could speak, he heeded the warning. However, Oríshanlá finished preparing the food. But in a gesture of retaliation, he added salt to the soup, knowing that it was poisonous to his wife. After storing the food, he left the house to play a game of I with his friends. Meanwhile, his wife returned and went to the place where her food was kept. Just as she was about to start eating, the baby spoke again, saying, "Mother, do not eat that food, for my father has put salt in the soup." Almost immediately after hearing the child, she became hysterical and shouted for the neighbors to come and save her from a husband who was trying to kill her after she had given him a son. Her cries attracted onlookers from the neighboring houses. Shortly after, a meeting of the divinities was called at Oríshanlá's house. He received the summons while he was playing I and remained calm throughout. It was Gun who presided over the conference, since Oríshanlá, the traditional president, found himself in the defendant's seat this time. Gun invited Àfín to explain what had happened. She told how her husband had put salt in her food, knowing that it was forbidden to her. When questioned about how she knew that salt had been added to the soup and that her husband was responsible, she explained that she had been informed by her one-day-old son. The divinities thought she was crazy, for no one could imagine how such a young child could speak to his mother. Oríshanlá was then invited to defend himself against the accusations. Contrary to expectations, he confirmed that he had indeed added salt to his wife's soup. However, he explained that he had done so to punish her for a similar action she had committed against him earlier that same day. He accused his wife of pouring palm wine into his drinking water, despite knowing, as everyone else did, that it was forbidden to him. When asked how he knew about his wife's alleged action, he also explained that it was his newborn son who had warned him not to drink the water because his mother had poured palm wine into it. All eyes then turned to the child, who was already considered a mysterious being. Without being specifically questioned, he provided the missing pieces of the puzzle, saying, "Ejiogbe mi akbe enekon," which means, "I came to Earth to save the lives of my parents, and this is why I warned both of them, preventing their mutual destruction." Consequently, it came as no surprise that 7 days later, when it was time to name him, his parents decided to call him Ejiogbe, or double salvation. This first work of Ejiogbe on earth is divided in such a way that when he appears during the initiation ceremony in the Gbadu, it is required that all sacrificial materials be in pairs: 2 goats, 2 chickens, 2 snails, 2 fish, 2 rats, etc. When Ejiogbe appears in the Gbadu, salt and palm wine are always poured over the initiation materials in commemoration of the events that took place on the day of his birth.